My name is Rod, and I like to party.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Zareth Prevails. We have a guest today. We're going to talk about these core defensive teams for 5v5. The guest, none other than Calvin Awesome, who has won. Calvin, how many? Before I even let you say hi today, how many Kyber Premier Champion have you won?
I want to say it was five or six.
Five or six, yeah. Really good player, guys, and he is free to play. Actually, he's doesn't brag about it, but really good player. He also has his own channel. He just got to 1,000 subs, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't go and sub him. The link is gonna be in the video description. Go check him out. He is amazing at GAC. Much better player than I am. He just has a smaller account, but he does crazy things with it. Go check him out. Watch his GAC recaps. Really good stuff. So, Calvin, how are you doing today, man?
I'm doing well. And yeah, thanks for shouting out the channel. We do have, I think today when this releases, we'll have a video going about modding, about how to use characters with crit damage that also have like a ton of speed on them. But yeah, the JC recaps are wonderful as well. But I'm doing great, Zareth. I'm happy to be here, and I'm really happy we're doing this because this is also something that I needed to do.
Oh man, I mean, so me and Endall have done this a lot in the past, and I'm like, man, I get more benefit from this than I get from I feel like I get more benefit from it than anyone else who watches it, frankly, because yeah, you need to blow the dust off. Try to figure out what team comps we're going to use. And so, yeah, we have a few things that are going to be informed by Omicrons and other teams that are going to, we'll be able to discuss a few Datacron things, factors, probably leave most of those out, frankly. And then we're also completely leaving out Galactic Legends, though we try to construct teams that if you want to use a Galactic Legend on offense or defense, you'll be able to kind of dissolve a specific team into that Galactic Legend, and you won't really see any drop off. So, yeah, we're going to cover the offensive ones today. Tomorrow we'll be publishing the defensive teams. But yeah, did we say anything? Is that about it?
Yeah, that pretty much nails it.
Cool. Yeah. Oh yeah, go check out his podcast too. He's got a podcast with Tilo Mad. No big deal. It's pretty cool though.
The Mad Awesome Show on Spotify and iTunes.
Yeah, man. I'll link it in the video description as well. So, all right, first team, and this is actually one that we've talked about for 3v3, and I don't know. I feel like we had a similar first order TIE pilot. Omicron is exciting, and so we go in and Star Killer's sometimes we'll allow, but typically go screw yourself.
Well, and that's one of the big issues with the first order TIE pilot. He's a very, very good character now with the Omicron, but he really wanted at least three different types of friends. He wanted a tank, he wanted someone who's going to start with advantage, and he wanted a damage dealer. And in 3v3, he can only have two friends. Now, in fives, the fact that he has these other four characters here, he's going to do a lot better. Not just against Starkiller, but I think against a lot of other comps.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think against Starkiller is cool because you have the extra speed boost from crew, that honestly, that sounds, gosh, what have I done? Hold on a sec. All right. Total ridiculous fat finger moment, just averted. We're good now. We're so good. So I love though that, I mean, plus 30 speed doesn't seem like that much in the face of plus 100 extra speed from first order TIE pilot, but it makes a huge difference in how fast you need to make Hux if you want to outspeed some of these Starkiller teams.
Well, Mara Jade couldn't, if you had the fastest speed set in the world like that, plus 30s or whatever it is on Mara and on Hux, Mara would win. Her base was just that much higher, even with the 100, because she has her own 70 speed boost as well. But crew negates that. Who comes out naturally faster now is Hux. So it's a much, not more reliable just because you have, more characters, but it's a lot more reliable just because Hux is going to be the one to get out the gate. He has the upper hand.
Yeah, I like this a lot. I think the my biggest question mark is, okay, what do I do with Supreme Leader Kylo now? Because sometimes I do want to run the more traditional Supreme Leader Kylo team instead of using him to kill things with just like some random Night Sisters or whatever. I think that's the biggest question mark I have, at least.
Yeah, it varies for roster. Like I don't have Fennec built, so Stark or not Stark, Supreme Leader Kylo is tied to Lord Vader every single time. He typically doesn't ever want First Order to do that. Like he'll do different combinations I rather want. He'll take First Order Stormtrooper occasionally, but nice as well. So for me, this is going to work out really stinking well.
Right. Well, and this is just a nice flex. Not to mention, I mean, there are going to be some instances you don't even need crew. Honestly, like you could just use Hux
Yes.
lead or
Yep.
something, and yeah, you can kind of steal pieces of this team. Plus, I do like that it like First Order Type Pilot is like, hey, I get to be used. Like I can actually free up other pieces of the roster, and like OG Kylo the same. So yeah, this team, honestly, that's one of the teams I'm the most excited about. So this is our first offensive team. I feel like we should tell people though, if you don't have the Omicron on Type Pilot, then you might want to go home and rethink your life. Well, maybe
Yes.
not rethink your life, but at least rethink using the squad on offense ever. So, yeah, that Omicron is super, super good. Next, we have the pretty traditional Veers team. We put it right next to the Iden team. So, what do you like about the Veers team? Like, what do you do against Veers or with Veers? Sorry.
I typically stick with the pretty normal Darth Revan counter just to be able to get in there, punch set in the face, get the turn mirror going, get all of them down. I have my Piet modded pretty fast, so even I've ran into quite a few Darth Revans even with Talon that I'm able to get around, and that works just fine.
How
That
fast
being
is
said, I
yours?
mean, they even when people don't put Darth Revan down, they just get relegated to killing Dash or something of the sort. Like they always it's kind of similar to what we were talking about the first order. They're always almost going to have a target to hit. Like I have yet to find an opponent that has made a trooper proof board.
Yeah, I feel like they're less and less. Some of the boards, I'm like, I feel like this might work, but it can get a little sketchy. But yeah, for the most part, I mean, yeah, I have a what 353 we just checked on Piet. So as long as you have I think the biggest part is making sure you have the bridge to Colonel Stark
Yes.
or whoever if you take Stark out for whatever reason, make sure that someone had like I see that happen sometimes. They're like, oh yeah, well I wanted to use Stark on my Iden team, but then. They also don't have Moff Gideon available. They're just like, yeah, we'll just wing
Next
it. And
fastest character is a 250 range.
right, well, yeah, exactly. Like, and it is fun to watch. I'll give them that. Like, it is entertaining. But yeah, I mean, pretty staple offensive team. There's some uses for Piet that I'm going to be experimenting with this season, but I'm not ready to talk about that yet. It's totally just gonna just be the best ever, though. I'm sure it's not. But next we have Iden, and I'm out of my comfort zone here with Iden because I like her on defense, and everyone's getting Wampa, which they should. Wampa's amazing. But do you run your Iden with a ton of potency?
I don't. So I've actually been running. So I still have a gear 11 Iden. I have gear 12 on the rest of the troopers, but I use them on offense every single round because people keep putting down like Mon Mothma with Kyle Katarn at active 400 speed or whatever, and they go in and even at a huge gear disadvantage, they're still getting 65s or whatever max banners is against it. So I don't run her with potency specifically because against rebels she doesn't need it. Most of her debuffs are irresistible. And at the
Right.
same time, even if I did want to like flex and put her on defense, Gear 11 Iden, I think naturally is missing like 20% potency or something like that. I think it comes from the finisher. So it's a pointless venture for me to mod her for potency just because she doesn't have the boost that she naturally needs. But yeah,
Well, and this is going to be one of those teams that it's like, well, all right, Datacrons are obviously going to maybe tilt things a little bit in certain ways because, if you have a high enough Datacron set with a ton of potency to add to Iden, you could maybe put it on defense. And if you get that initial stun on Wampa, then Wampa probably dies. But I don't know. Then it's like, well, does Wampa have a high enough like potency datacron to counter that? I mean, it's a question mark. But have you faced on your Iden team, like you say, the people put like Mon Mothma down? I've seen people been running it sometimes with bigs on that team to time it out. Have you seen that? Have you run into it yet?
So it doesn't end in a timeout. It just disrupts things to a point where the Kyle Katarn will eventually get in a big hit and kill. Well, for some people, it might end in a timeout. It has not ended in a timeout for me, but it has happened where it disrupted things so much to the point where Kyle Katarn got a big hit off,
Mm-hmm.
and he was able to kill my death, and that was game right there. Like I didn't have the revive procced, so it was game over. It only happened once, and that won't. I mean, that won't happen with Relic Idens. Relic Idens will destroy those teams. But yeah, think about the Gear 12 variant. It struggles if the rest of the team is good and you have bigs. Like if they just put like wedge bigs junk, then you'll just slaughter them. Like it'll be annoying. Bigs will get a bunch of turns, but they will go down.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, these teams with like Kyle Katarn, I think Pow, Cara Dune, and Biggs. That one is very very annoying, and it might just wreck you.
Fair. Yeah, that's something I've been thinking about lately. Especially because I just relic 7 bigs for fleet, and I'm like, oh, added utility sometimes. But anyways, Wampa he wamps things. Like, does he beat? Have you ever used him to beat a Galactic Legend?
Oh yeah, he's beaten C for me multiple times in both 5v5 and 3v3.
Have you ever beat Sith Eternal that has Malik with him?
No, I think
Okay.
the his unique that applies a dot every time he gets hit or whatever. I think that just is the death sentence because he's gonna be perma feared.
Right. Oh yeah. I've had multiple people tell me on my Omicron ranking video, you have to put Wampa at the very top tier because he kills Sith Eternal every time. And I'm like, except
Every
for
time's a
all,
stretch.
except for every Sith Eternal team that doesn't have like crew or, like there's a lot of teams that if you just have tenacity down somewhere, then Wampa's gonna get real sad. And also, Malik does just cold stop him. So,
Yeah, it is.
yeah.
It's not even close. And what's worse is Malik stops other counters too, so he's just ends up being a very attractive option.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So, all right, General Grievous. This is one of the teams I've been meaning. I've wanted to make a video for a long time about. Like, prove me wrong. General Grievous should be on offense, like almost always. I use him so much, and it makes me real nervous not to have BB-8 here instead of Newt. But I think it also like Newt is great unless you have to kill like Star Killer. What do you use Grievous on?
Star Killer.
Yeah, and you use Newt with him.
I use the Newt variant. Yeah. At the end of the day, the team is mostly reactionary. Like either Grievous is going to get ticked off at one point, or B2 is going to get triggered. You don't necessarily even have to go first. It does feel a lot safer. It feels a lot more controlled. But it's worked against us or worked for us. I think 9 times out of 10 or something to that effect. There was one time GK cleansed everything, and that just kind of it went downhill really quickly. But yeah, he's just a very versatile team, and I won't ever argue with you about his placement unless you're like a very new account, maybe not even a new account, but like a mid game account where Bad Batch isn't just like a reality for every single roster. Then yeah, he has to go on offense because you're just handing someone a free 65, whereas he on offense he can challenge some Galactic Legends in some circumstances, but also
Right.
just eat Star Killer or Mon Mothma or CLS or just a very wide array of very good teams.
Oh yeah, he's honestly he's one of those teams that I'm like I don't have a specific target here going into this. Like maybe Star Killer's going to be there in that case like he's shoehorned in, but otherwise, I mean. Like you say, there's just so much utility in what he always has a target.
Yeah.
I think there was one round last month that I was like, that is so strange I didn't use Grievous, but it was because it was against someone I was able to use a couple different solos on, and I was like, I mean, I always drop like 2 banners with Grievous at least, so I may as well just be efficient and not use him. But I mean, he's always got a use. He is super versatile on offense. Okay, so because we're not using Galactic Legend, like, and it's weird because most of the people watching this are going to have some Jedi Galactic Legends, and so it's just kind of like, okay, so we have the Supreme Leader Kylo kill team, which might be real sketchy now with Datacrons available and everything, but and then the rest of them are just like leftovers. But if you're not killing Supreme Leader Kylo with this, and you don't have Galactic Legends, you can kind of just mix and match, like Basti lead with like Ki-Adi-Mundi and others. Like you could do some serious work with these mix and match Jedi. Like what are you using these Jedi for? Like, how often do you kill Supreme Leader Kylo with the Jedi Revan team?
It was my go-to counter for probably the last year or so, just because, again, we're not talking Galactic Legends, but you can very easily split your Jedi into two teams, like Jedi Master Luke to kill a good Rey team, like, and he doesn't need Giant Luke or Giant Revan to do that, and the two of them can go and kill Supreme Leader Kylo Ren. So that's typically how I did the split. But I mean, I don't know if I would recommend anyone do this, but I do think it's at the very least intriguing. The Grandmaster Yoda is getting a Datacron for his lead, and that bottom team there, it's full GR, and Cam also kind of has a lead on his unique. It looks interesting.
Sure. Do you need the Zeta on his lead?
I believe you do.
Do you have the Zeta on his lead?
I do not.
Okay,
So
I do.
maybe not the ideal option. Just it's intriguing.
That's fair.
You're probably
Yeah.
better off splitting Basti lead.
Yeah, I mean, so like Basti lead, she does a lot of work actually. Like you could beat a lot of like BAM teams and stuff. If you happen to have Basti with Ki-Adi-Mundi and then just a bunch of good decent support, like you can really really punch up with that team. And then it's like, well, if you kill all the damage dealers fast enough, then you just end with perfect banners because no one can get through your protection to mess with you. So really like that. I mean, Ki-Adi-Mundi, he can also go with, like, we put the Qui-Gon team on defense, actually, the Omicron Qui-Gon, but, I mean, Ki-Adi-Mundi on that team is also just, he can make that team so ridiculous. All right, Bounty Hunters, you don't have Fennec, and I loved when you shouted out this team, because this is the one that I've used for a long time now. Maybe not Zam. Like even before Zam, though, I used to put Ruinous Speed on Bosk and Grief. Like, what are your targets here with the Aura team?
Typically, what I end up taking them against is either stupid fast Darth Revens when troopers have another target, and then the big two are not Bosk, Bam and Dash. Because those teams, even if you're severely undergeared, like I have a gear 11 Aura, and I have a gear 12 Grief and Mando, and I typically go up against full relic like R5, R7, R8 teams. And as long as Mando, you have your things clocked properly, and Mando gets the big hit off from the damage dealer, whether it be Dash or Bam, you're kind of just home free. Like you kill them, and then you weather the storm with the big hits, and then you just disintegrate the entire team. It's a little at that gear level, it's a little shaky, but it's a very solid counter, especially once you get them higher relics like this.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think this team is so fun to use on offense. I mean, I think that you mentioned it just briefly. You need to make sure that your Mando is clocked right with Zam, because Zam throws all of the clocking askew, and so yeah, that is absolutely a thing. And I guess I can plug, like, my Patreon does have an option. I mean, just the lowest version, or the lowest membership, but I do have a calculator for Zam that calculates how you can get your Mando to the appropriate speed so he doesn't go before Bosk's second turn, because Bosk needs to go twice. And Zam, like I said, just messes everything up. So that being said, okay, I love that you said something about Geos with Gideon. I don't use Geos a huge amount. They're a team that, I think that's something I could expand into having, more versatility in. So you like to use Gideon here. What do you use this team for?
It honestly kind of gets the a lot of the weaker teams that people will put down, or maybe they put something down really fast. It's not necessarily very strong, but it's really fast and it's going to take control right away. Like JTR actually is kind of a good example of that. And Geos, they kind of get torn apart if they don't go first a lot of the times. And Gideon just gives them everything they want. Like they get to go first, and then also mitigating the damage while they're with his demoralized, while they're constantly health swapping or equalizing. Equalizing is the right word. It's very, very annoying to be able to kill them.
Yeah. Oh man. I mean, we just finished light side territory battles, and the General Skywalker team. It's just like it's a roller coaster of emotions. You know, trying to beat the health equalization. But yeah, I mean, how fast is your Gideon?
Oh, he's not very fast. He's only 340.
Okay,
But
that's nice.
my
That's
Geonosian Brute
approachable.
Alpha is 270. So he is the difference maker of 70 speed or whatever that number is.
Yeah, I guess. Wow, when's 282? That's fancy. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I like to use Moff Gideon with Padme actually in the Gidme team sometimes. I don't use it that often, but it's a nice utility team. So he likes to be really fast for that. I mean, Moff Gideon in
He likes
terms
to
of
be fast. Yeah.
well, he's such a rescue car. You're just like, oh my gosh, thank God I have a fast Gideon because I don't know what I would have done against that team. Like I needed, he saves me sometimes. I'm like, I don't care what, like, you can go with rebels. Like, just go with, just deal with it, dude. Deal with your crap. Okay, so two more teams left. We've got Mon Mothma and Bad Batch. So, Mothra, do you use this team? Do you have it relicked?
So you use this team. I have it relicked. Pal, Cardoon, and Hoth Rebel Scout are all R1, which not exactly a code for Rogue One. And I typically use this on defense. I am gonna start trying to use this more on offense, though, just because of the amount of counters that are out there for Mon Mothma, and not just like counters, but high banner count and high success rate against her. And she can do a lot of stuff on offense, especially with Kyle Katarn in there. I'm looking at using his basic first to get Pow a turn instantly, and then get the train going.
Yeah, Kyle Katarn. I mean, I feel like people don't use his basic enough when it's his turn because they're like, oh, well, he's doing his basic all the time. But I mean he does. It's nice because he's got the ability block on it too, you know.
Yep, and that only works
only when
during
it's
his turn.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this team, man, on offense, it is so fun. I mean, I just wade into all sorts of ridiculous things. Plus, one of my very favorite things about Mon Mothma is the fact that you can you can finish off a ton of Galactic Legends. It's like, well, okay, my GL counter went south. All I have to kill is Lord Vader. There's not that many things that actually kills Lord Vader out there, you know. Even in fives, you're like, all right, like there's like 4 or 5 teams that like maybe, but I mean, Mon Mothma is one of them. People just, I've just stopped even suggesting it as a counter to people actually, because invariably now she's on defense, and I'm actually sad because Wampa is disrupting this thing where Iden was always on defense for people before a Wampa, which meant that people could safely put Mon Mothma on defense because that they wouldn't have to just get auto killed for like 66 with the Iden team. But now people are taking Iden on offense, which means people are going to be taking Mon Mothma off of defense, which means they're going to be using it on offense, and people are going to discover how good she is. So I just prefer to be the only person who knows. That's all. I like knowing things, Kelvin. Okay,
Your pro knowledge.
and pro fun, but yeah, knowledge is also nice. So finally, Bad Batch. I mean, you actually did a whole video series on the badly geared batch. Sorry, and I was actually pretty proud of myself. You didn't know that Omega was Galactic Republic, or was not Galactic Republic.
Yeah, it just feels so out of place. Like it just messes with so many things.
Yeah, I did it in Conquest like 3 times in a row. I'm like, why isn't my Galactic Republic counter like attack like wins going up? And Omega's like, it's because of me. I'm like, thanks for that, Omega.
In my defense, that whole series was based right before Omega came into the game, but still, yeah, that's yeah. But I really like Bad Batch.
Man.
I think they're probably one of the most well-balanced teams that came into the game and already kind of had a small laundry list of things they could beat, but also just weren't like unstoppable. They're very turn order, not turn order, but like speed dependent. That they really really want to go first, and if they don't, they're just screwed. Like Mon Mothma, actually, yeah, Mon Mothma will just wreck them if as long as she can go first.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. But yeah, you just need to make sure your turn meter gap is actually yeah, that you can actually get more than just like the initial burst of turns. But yeah, one thing that I really love is you can take Omega out, and if you have Shock T available, then like if you go in against, like, for instance, a Mon Mothma team, because Shock T gains all that bonus turn meter, she gets 20% turn meter for every like instance of damage that's done to a clone, then she immediately goes, and then one of her moves is just hand the turn to Echo. And Echo's like, oh, like, you guys have already generated so many buffs on your team for taking all these turns. Like, I'm just going to roll these grenades up. My whole team's going to take turns. Everyone's going to be stunned. It's going to be this whole thing. And, yeah, Shakti, it's sad because Wrecker doesn't get his immediate, like, 2-turn stun and stuff. But I feel like, I mean, I've had enough wins against, like, Relic 8 Mon Mothma teams that I feel like it's worthwhile.
Yeah, definitely varies in the situation. I mean, we talked about switching up your Jedi, so if you ever left over, it's a great option.
Yeah. So that's the offensive teams. Obviously, like, a lot of these are going to be used on defense sometimes on offense. The stuff for tomorrow is all gonna, it's gonna vary. And then of course Galactic Legends change things. But to see how we adapt to it, guys, you can watch our GAC videos on my channel, and go check out Calvin's. Give him a sub, help him along his way, guys. That being said, any last words, Calvin? Words
Stay
of
awesome.
wisdom. Stay awesome, and keep prevailing and stuff. I'm sure. So, yeah, guys, thanks for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow with the same lineup, which is me and Calvin talking about defensive teams.